After finally testing negative for COVID, we were free to continue exploring Israel. We had a lot of time to make up for, but with nothing but a drive to Jerusalem planned for the day, we decided to make one last stop in Tel Aviv. We spent the morning walking along the beach boardwalk and around the ancient port city of Jaffa. Jaffa is about 4,000 years old and is purported to be the oldest port to be in continual use in the world. Today, it is a gathering of small shops, art galleries, and a flea market. It's a nice area to walk around and have some lunch. Alright, so we just finished lunch. It was quite a cute place just on the beach. It looked very nice and kind of fancy. The food was good.
Called Goldman's.
Yeah. So now we're just headed back to the hotel, gonna grab our stuff, meet the driver, and head on to Jerusalem.
Yerushalayim.
To Jerusalem, and just before we go to our hotel, our tour guide has taken us to the old city. Is that over there?
Yes.
To the old city to take a little walk around before we get settled in.
That's called the wide wall. Look how far away it's going down up to the bedrock. He put the first foundation of that wide wall, you know. Later on I'll take you outside, I'll show it to you from outside. Now we know that when you stand here, you're inside the city wall of Jerusalem 2,700 years ago, and you protect yourself from the invasion of the Assyrian army.
So we just arrived at the David Citadel after walking around the old city. It was very nice, very cool. A lot of the old city has the original flooring from when the Romans were here, and apparently the Ottoman Empire as well. And you'll see a lot of the old city walls, the ruins, and what's left of that. We also went into the burnt house, which was apparently a priestly family who used to live in Jerusalem before the Romans took it down and burnt it to the ground. So archaeologists had found this house that had once stood in Jerusalem and found that there was a lot of charred remains in there. So they did a lot of work to identify when that happened, and they determined that it happened when the Romans came and burnt down pretty much the entire city of Jerusalem. But for now, I'm going to get unpacked and get ready for dinner because it's getting late and we need to go get something to eat. Good morning. So we were up very early this morning because we have to fit in a bunch of activities that we did not get to while we were stuck in quarantine. So we're gonna meet our driver now and head up to the Golan Heights. So we've made our first stop of the day here at Bet Shean. So it was a city of about 40,000 people, and it has elements of Greek, Roman, and Byzantine. We're here in the theater now, and almost all of the seats are the original seats. They did not restore them after they excavated them, and it's pretty cool. We actually don't have that much time here because this wasn't actually a scheduled stop, so we're not really exploring all that much, but this place is super cool and I wish we had more time. We really only have time to come here to the theater, unfortunately, but there's also a bathhouse here that they've excavated, and there's an original road. After an earthquake, I believe that this place was buried, and I believe the reason why they found this place was because there was one pillar sticking up out of the rubble and gave them an indication that there was more here. So they've excavated a few parts of the city. They believe that there's a lot more here. They haven't found any of the residential areas yet, so I believe excavation will be continuing on to hopefully find even more of this place. But we do have a reservation somewhere else, so we actually have to leave with just seeing the theater and head back and get back on the road, unfortunately. So we've come to the second stop of our day, which is
Gamla.
And it is a nature reserve that has some ruins.
The Romans laid siege to it for 40-something days, and then eventually the Jewish defenders killed themselves rather than being taken captive or killed by the Romans. It's like the Masada of the north.
The story of Gamla is reminiscent of the story of Masada, another site that we will visit later on in our trip. Gamla was an ancient Jewish town, and at the time, what is now Israel was under Roman rule, and the inhabitants of the town began to revolt against the Romans. In response, the Romans made 2 attempts to capture the town, with their second attempt being successful. The people of Gamla fought hard against the Romans. However, because of the wind direction that brought the arrows of the Jews off course, it became apparent to the Jews that the Romans had succeeded in taking Gamla. Not wanting to surrender to the Romans, the survivors threw themselves to their deaths from the mountain. Our third stop of the day was to a kibbutz in the Golan Heights. Here we took a Jeep tour that was one of my favorite activities of the trip. Unfortunately, because of our hard drive issues, the videos of our tour were mostly lost, and I only have a few seconds of clips and pictures to tell the story. On this tour, we took a Jeep along the Syrian-Israeli border. The first stop of our tour was to an ex-Syrian headquarters in Israel. Long since abandoned, the empty building, covered in graffiti, was really cool to walk around and explore. The building shows the harsh signs of war, like here, where the roof is collapsed in on the stairs after being bombed. Our next stop brought us closest to the Syrian border as possible. Here, there was an underground bunker that I was keen to explore. However, after going in and taking a few turns, I got a little afraid that I would get lost and turned around. Our last stop of the day was to the Valley of Tears. This is where the major battle of the Yom Kippur War was fought in 1973. The Syrians had struck Israel on the holiest day of the year, and they outnumbered the Israel forces in men and weapons. Although the Syrians made some initial gains, the Israeli forces were able to defeat the Syrian army at the top of the valley, just as they themselves were about to collapse. Alright, we're back from a full day of touring. I've had a shower, washed my hair, and we've had dinner here in the room because we got back so late that we just did not want to go out for dinner and get ready and have to deal with all that. So we just ordered in a room service, and now we are exhausted and we have to get up tomorrow to do a bunch more things. So I'm going to head to bed now, and we'll see you in the morning. Good night.